it's enjoyable to be in this position. It's not easy. You see this back-to-back years here. It is not easy to be in this position where you're hosting these events. You look at the landscape across the country and how challenging it is to stack. You want to stack good seasons, and I'm proud of the guys. It's a new team. We lost a lot off of our roster clearly, and we had some guys that were here that have progressed, and you try to add and build the best you can. So I'm proud. When the dust settles, you're here again. Our fans get to experience another postseason regional in Hauser Stadium. We know it's going to be electric. Bethune is an exceptional team. Northeastern is an exceptional team, and Mississippi State's an exceptional team. This is tough. You can throw all the RPI stuff at me, anything you want. This is tough. These are really good teams. They're very different. Every one of the teams are different that we will potentially have to deal with. Bethune's dynamic. All three of these teams really pitch well. I think two of the three are in the top in the country in base on ball to strikeout ratio. Very capable. Older. These are older teams. These are teams that have been through the scheduling situation. Bethune played a really good schedule. They've been here before. They're a veteran team. They've got 128 stolen bases. They got a bunch of home runs. They have a variety of arms. I think we'll see a right-hander that really commands it well, but throws 3 pitches, and he's chewed through some people. We'll throw Joey Volini. We thought that was a good matchup for him. And Joey has handled right-handers. Knock on wood, he's kind of managed the right-handers okay, and he's fresh and feeling good, so we're going to go there. And you just have to get into it and go execute. We try to prepare, and we try to position our guys so they're ready for this type of situation. And we have our 3 starting pitchers healthy, which been a long time since you start the season with 3 starting pitchers, and you're at this point and you feel good with those 3. That's unique. So proud of the guys, proud of where we are. Very, very difficult, outstanding teams, well coached, dynamic, well put together, and it's going to be all we can take here.
What did Joey show you in the relief outing? I know you had said you kind of wanted to give him a little bit of a lighter workload at the tournament. Just what did he show you in that relief outing to get the ball tomorrow?
I just thought the stuff was a little sharper. Honestly, I thought the velo might have been a tick better. He was getting it to both sides of the plate a little bit better. I thought his changeup was good. I thought he threw some of the better changeups he's thrown. The big curveball, he that's an outlier pitch metrically. Like his physical stature and then the spin and the release height, it's a really good pitch. So we lean on that. I thought the intensity when he came in the game, I thought he looked very engaged with it, and he threw 50 pitches. So I know it's a shorter week, but by any stretch, that was a very light load for him, and he looked really good.
You'd have Jamie go game 2, just to confirm.
Jamie will go game 2. Jamie will go game 2.
How I don't know, I guess from past experience, this is how you often do things. I know you haven't before hosted many, if any, regionals as a head coach. How much did last year, how much it worked out throwing Carson game 1 and lining Jamie up for game 2 kind of give you confidence that this was the way to go, or is it a different year-to-year thing?
Year-to-year personnel just kind of match up and what you think and how everybody's doing. So I'm not really looking at what happened last year at Notre Dame when we did it. You kind of just have to go with what you think is best for that particular team. And I'm not leaning on any previous experience. We thought this was the best thing to get into the event, and that's why we're doing it. Whether it worked or last year, that really didn't impact like how we're approaching this one, honestly. Same thing in Notre Dame.
Link, how do you handle, I guess, the uncertainty of weather? I know it's kind of part and parcel of coaching here in Tallahassee this time of year, but do you want to tell the guys like, hey, listen, you got to be ready 3:00 first pitch, or do you want to kind of give them some sort of latitude about, hey, be prepared to maybe sit around for a little bit? How do you kind of approach that and manage that?
That's so tough. And they understand. You know, we deal with it. I know this is crazy, but when you look back, like this starts for us in the later part of August. So you get to that point of the year in September in the fall, you know, football practices in the morning. So we may have this fancy practice plan drawn up or what we're doing with skill work, and all of a sudden the lightning hits and we're in the indoor practice football facility in our cages. So they know. And then there are periods of time when things seem to smooth out, but then you're back into that period with the lightning and the storms, and they know that. And last night, Indianapolis, this is run from Indianapolis. The weather decisions are not mine anymore. It's not Catherine. It's not FSU. This is Indianapolis and the NCAA stepping in. So last night they called. They said you need to practice at 9:30 in the morning to beat this line of storm. So we reset everything and moved it up and had the guys here early. And, you know, by the time we're getting ready to go on the field, the tarp's on the field and lightning's near and we're in the cage and so, you know, it's just, it is what it is. And I do choose the first game for a couple reasons. One of which is if you get pushed back, I've been in some weird things through the years of that night game. If the first one gets pushed back, that night one becomes really difficult, and they may not alter the next day's start times if night one gets pushed back. So, you know, I'm not trying to do anything to offset our fans. It just is in my experience, the smartest way to manage it. And if you do have to alter, maybe that 3:00 game turns into 6 or 7, not 10, if you're playing the later one.
Can you compare? I mean, if it's I don't know if even it's really worth comparing last year to this year, but just how you feel about Connor Holtz, the way you used him last year down the stretch, at least in June, to where you think he is right now after a couple outings coming off that injury.
I think it's starting to look better. I don't the breaking ball in the ACC tournament was more like a slider, but he managed it and he threw some fastballs for strike. I think Holtzy's close. He was down for so long, it was like a complete reset. So is he back to what he was in the regional, super regional Omaha last year? Tough. I think it's really trending that way. And it's good that the last couple times out looked more like that. And that the injury he had is a tricky one. And he was out for 6-7 weeks. So we're getting there. You know, we probably have a little more depth, thank goodness, in the bullpen than we had last year. Not saying it's been consistent that we know every single time what we're getting out of everybody, but I do think we have a little bit more depth than we did last year, albeit maybe more on the right-handed side. But every team's different, and I think he's definitely trending in the right direction. And overall, I think the depth that we do have allows us to ease people back into things, like especially in his case. And we've had other guys that have kind of been down for a while, and you may not have even known it, but there have been some other guys that maybe needed a weekend or a few days, and that's part of it. But I think all in all, he's headed in the right direction.
I know I guess the only team you're guaranteed to play is Bethune-Cookman, but what have you seen looking more into Northeastern? Obviously, I mean, the win streak they're on speaks to playing a certain level of consistent baseball, and Mississippi State kind of looks like they've been a bit of a different team since they made the coaching change.
Well, Northeastern, when you've stolen 200 bases, just unbelievable savviness on the bases. They're older team. They're gritty. They play really well, really hard. They pitch. They pound the strike zone. Like, they're not giving you a lot of opportunities via the base on balls or any of the extras. They play good defense. They're athletic, and they have good arms. The roster's put together really well. Mississippi State, very dynamic. One of the best bats in the country. Their third baseman, as good as any hitter you'll see. Very capable arms. Both of those teams are in the top in the country in the strikeout to walk ratio, which is hard to do when you're over 3-1 in those categories. The command and the attack of the strike zone stands out. Mississippi State, maybe a little bit more of the extra base hit side of things, where Northeastern really does so many things on the bases that are disruptive and good. And Bethune is a combination. Bethune stolen, I think they're up about 130 stolen bases, and they've hit almost 90 home runs and good batting average and older. So, man, any way you slice it, you have to try to get through game one, and then you turn your attention and game plan and do everything you can do to prepare for whoever it is in game two. But this is tough. I thought last year's draw was really tough, and this is equal to or greater than that difficulty. I really believe that those are tough draws.
But then I think they're starting Joel Core. Just and looking at him, what do you see in their starter?
Good command, good mix, good use of the fastball where he wants to go with the fastball. You can see where he's trying to go, and it often ends up right there. Breaking ball almost looks like two different types of shape on the breaking ball. Good feel for the change. So, and we don't see the weekend guys, on the midweek slates very often. I mean, every once in a while you'll see somebody pop in there, but for an extended look, we haven't seen those guys, and we'll see. Like tough, they win, man. There's a winning habits with teams help put you in position to be right where you are right now and be comfortable in this and execute in this. And Johnny does a nice job with the schedule. They go to all these places, and this is the position they want to be in. And by scheduling and preparing to be in it, I think that team, especially an older team, he's prepared them to respond and play in this.
Just with the amount that these teams do run, just how do you try to prepare for that? I guess do you work more on the base running stuff with the defense, or is it just kind of letting them know in the game plan of the approach to it of how much those teams can run?
We absolutely work on it, and we haven't been great with it. So we're trying, and I like this week. It's the ebbs and flows of what you deal with as a coach when you go through the season. You feel like you come out of the gates and you've got 4 or 5 good weeks of practice, and you got everybody in your scrimmaging, so everybody's involved, and there's so many reps and there's so much going on, and you can throw the base runners out there and you can create what you want. Then when you get into the season, the days of grinding through some practices and really doing some things that you might have done in the fall of the preseason, it's difficult. After our Tuesday night games to roll out here on Wednesday afternoon before you fly out on Thursday, I'm conscious of what we're working on and how hard we push some of the guys. And when you're working on this stuff on the mound, quite frankly, some of it has to do with like throwing. Like you have to make some throws to do it. So there was a good pocket this week where we could work on some things that had been on my mind, but sometimes it's tough to grind into that. And I don't mean to use the word grind like I'm running these guys into the ground, but there's things coaching wise that we need to touch on and improve on. And I hope that this week provided a runway to be a little bit better at some of the things that we haven't maybe managed as well in the later part of the season.
Link, I guess, how are you assessing what you'll do at DH, I guess, with Brody and James and Hunter? How much of it will be what you've seen like the last 48 hours? How much of it is just what you've seen the last, 4 months?
Probably more the last 4 months and what we think the right maneuver is against this arm. That's kind of where we'll lean. And, that spot, if you are just talking DH, it does give you some versatility and maneuvers that you can make. So I'm not completely set on that just yet. The rest of this day we'll kind of as a staff dive in a little deeper. We didn't know who they were throwing until this morning. So, but I do think we have some good options, and DeLon and Hankerson and Carnes, and that group has delivered for us as a whole. Like when you bunch it together, like there are 3 freshmen, right? That's and I sit there and watch this every day, and you have to put your crystal ball glasses and look, okay, where is DeLon in a year or two? Where's James Hankerson? Like think about the trajectory of this, and it's fun because you've seen some of the big key knocks and home runs and things these guys have done. It stood out. So any way we go, I'm pleased with the progression and that body of work from that group. And if you bunch it all together and say these are your DH stats, it might look different than when you just say here's somebody hitting 250 with 6 home runs, and here's somebody hitting 270 with 6, and here's somebody hitting 300 with 2. Like it might look better, but that's the beauty of the DH spot. You can make in-game moves easier than you can maybe at a position.